Alright guys, so in this video we're going to be going over the PvE tier list for September 2025 with the inclusion of Doil as well as Menthol and Seltzer Cookie with Grapefruit as well, because that was not added last time. And this time around we're taking a little bit different step here for the PvE tier list. We are dividing into only 4 different categories to simplify a lot more of this. And I just want to let you guys know that this is going to be based on my opinion as well as my experience. And I did get some inputs from some of the, older, like, veteran players as well. And also want to add in that this is not based off of power level, alright? Power level is just an indicator of what type of cookie they are. So it doesn't really matter what power level they are, it really just matters about what kind of cookie they are and how good are they in the role that they are going to be in. And one last thing is no guild bonds, because those do require specific teams. So let's go over it together here, guys, and then I'll go into the game and kind of talk about toppings, treasures, and teams that you can kind of use. But let's go over it. So we have the new tier, definitely shouldn't. All right, these are the cookies that if you guys are thinking about it, all right, think twice, think 3 times, think 4 times over before you use your resources. If not, just put them inside of the hall, because they are not really that good. All right, so starting out with the Sonic and Tails and BTS, we also do have Fig. We have Oyster, who is going to be the only high rarity tier cookie here inside of this tier. And then we have someone like Moon Rabbit down to Sorbet Shark. We also do have Espresso down to Lilac, Agar down to Candy Diver. Alright, so again, this is gonna be more condensed, right? We're just really just piling everything into one or 4 different tiers in this particular case. So we kind of revamped the whole entire tier list. All right, so let me know down in the comments below after you guys see this if you guys like this particular tier list or you guys like the other one. I just wanted to kind of simplify it this time around to see how it works. All right, next one is gonna be you can but shouldn't. It means that you can use them, but if you want to save your resources and you want to focus on the cookies that are gonna just help you out overall better, all right, then you shouldn't be investing in them too much. Again, you guys always have the Hall of Ancient Heroes to use these cookies if you guys would like to, or if you guys have spare resources, then go ahead and do so. All right, we have some of the higher rarity cookies here, and that is going to be with Golden Cheese, Dark Cacao, Hollyberry, Black Pearl, Pitaya, as well as Camellia, Capsaicin, Stardust, Clotted, as well as Sherbet, and our Shining Glitter. So we have all of the higher rarities here in the front, and then we have the new combos as well. So Menthol and Seltzer, as well as Jage and Manju. I know a lot of people have commented in the previous tier list about, hey, Jage and Manju should be in that OP tier. So I don't necessarily think that they're bad. I think they're really good combo, but compared to the cookies that are really good, all right, as in like they can literally just be used in any situation and be good, these particular cookies are going to be more situational in the case that these definitely need to be used together, as well as they technically don't have the amount of debuffs and buffs and things like that that would definitely help you guys out in overall PvE content. Okay, so we have tried them out in a lot of different situations. They are definitely good when it comes to like grouping up enemies together, dealing some AoE damage, but when it comes to certain bosses, as well as when it comes to certain stages, especially when the enemies are immune to debuffs and things like that, they do lack a little bit of usability. Okay, however, again, they are good, you can use them, but if you guys would like to, again, focus on better cookies, then the ones above are going to be a little bit better. Menthol and Seltzer, however, are going to be meta for the guild boss battle. Again, I don't include them inside of the PvE tier list because of the fact that these cookies are very specific. The team is very specific. So putting them inside of the, PvE tier kind of inflates or kind of can inflate their tier, although they might not be used for the other contents of the game. Again, I don't think they're necessarily bad. It's just more of comboing, and also you have to have one or the other technically to really use them in certain situations. And also, again, there's just better cookies out there when it comes to damage dealing. But I would say if you're a new player and you pull for them, not a bad idea to use them for the beginning. All right, and then we also do have Black Forest and Wedding Cake as well. So they're also really good combo. They were used for Living Abyss. However, Living Abyss right now is off of rotation, so that is a little bit tough. But we do have them as well. That they're a pretty good combo. And then the rest is gonna be from like Black Sapphire down to Mozzarella, Street Urchin down to our Macaron, and then we have Herb down to our Cream Unicorn. They are not necessarily in any order, okay? Just because they're in the front doesn't mean that they're better than the ones in the back. I just kind of placed them inside of the tier. But again, if you guys disagree, you guys can always let me know down in the comments below. This is kind of a more of a experimental thing for me too. But again, a lot of the cookies can be used, but you know, again, it's just more of like, you want to save resources, you don't need to, all right, in most of the PvE content. All right, next one is going to be our situational slash substitutes, all right, which means that can be used if you don't have certain cookies from the top OP go-to tier, or if you guys would like to just use them, then go ahead and do so. It's not really too much of a problem. But again, the go-to tier are the ones that you just want to really focus on. All right, so I know a lot of people might be saying, Hyrule, why is Shadow Milk in the situational tier, all right, or substitute tier? And it's more of the fact that Shadow Milk is lacking in that AoE damage. Obviously, Shadow Milk is super good. However, when it comes to PvE, in a lot of the areas, a lot of mobs have to be dealt with. However, when it comes to Shadow Milk, you really focus on that one particular enemy and then deal some damage to the other enemies around it. So when it comes to harder difficulty, people do hire like Shadow Milk, but still not able to clear because of the fact that Shadow Milk is just not dealing enough damage to get rid of everybody. And that's the reason why Eternal Sugar, who is going to be on the top, is slightly better or much better in the PvE content, because of the fact that Eternal Sugar is able to, you know, crystallize and freeze the enemies, put a bunch of debuff, put a bunch of buffs on your teammates, deal a bunch of area damage, not focusing on just single unit or single enemy. So it's just overall better. So again, that's the reason why we have it in the situational. You know, again, if you guys disagree, let me know down in the comments below so that I can try to see where people are and your reasoning behind it too. You can't just simply put, I think that they are OP. All right, don't just put that. Make sure to put your reasoning behind it. All right, and then we also do have Dark Cacao Awaken. More of a situational, definitely, because you do have a lot of anti-heal and debuffs, but the damage and the tanking is a little bit lacking. Of course, if you're really just focusing on Dark Team alone, there are situations when you do have to do that in the Cake Tower as well. But besides that, you don't have the rally buff. You don't have the other stuff that really makes a tank really good. So I'm gonna put Dark Cacao at that situational and substitute as of right now. We also do have Grapefruit. So Grapefruit has been added to the situational and substitute. If you guys didn't know, Grapefruit is actually really good when paired up with someone like Black Lemonade as well as Twizzly Gummy inside of the Cookie Alliance. Not only is the HP shield just really massive, but just the ability to have the debuffs as well as taunt the enemies and be really tanky allows Grapefruit to be a good cookies, especially for the newer players as well. So I would say Grapefruit is going to be a bit higher than the other epics in that particular case. And then we also do have Pudding Island Mode, who can be used inside a Cookie Alliance in most of the situations, but just gets out comboed with someone like Twizzly and Black Lemonade in most cases as well. Okay, and then we also do have our Golden Cheese Awaken, and then we have Pure Vanilla, White Lily, Moonlight, Frost Queen, Sea Fairy. We also do have Crimson Coral, Elder Fairy as the two like good you know, situational tanks for you inside of the PvE. And then we also do have the epic tanks like Financier, Dark Choco. We have Burnt Cheese, Fettuccine, Wildberry, Green Tea Mousse, as well as Space Donut. And then with some damage dealers as well with Black Raisin with the Magic Candy, Pastry with the Magic Candy, Mango with the Magic Candy, as well as Captain Caviar with the Magic Candy. And then we have Tartatan with Nutmeg Tiger, Mint Choco, and all the other supports as well. Again, at a value, these are definitely better than some of the ones on the bottom because of the buffs. debuffs as well as damage and the skills that they do have for the overall content. Now moving on to the ones that you just want to go to, the ones that are going to be OP, the ones that are just going to carry you in most of the content, and that is going to be the go-to or OP tier, starting with the Hollyberry Awaken, who is going to be the best tank that you guys can get. Just allows your cookies to survive so much better, all right, so much longer in order to clear those contents out in certain situations where your cookies get nuked. Hollyberry is able to prevent that a lot with her skill, and then she also does have some insane healing and tanking ability buffs and things like that. We have Eternal Sugar. I already stated all the reason why Eternal Sugar is really good. We also do have Stormbringer with the Crystal Jam, able to do a lot of damage, able to have a lot of buffs, able to just have insane amount of nuking ability. So we do have Stormbringer up there as well. Great in Cookie Alliance as well. And then we also do have Fire Spirit and Burning Spice, a great fire type area damage dealer from the rear as well as in the front. So those are going to be great damage dealers as well. We have some healers. We have Pure Vanilla Awaken, Mystic Flower, as well as the new DoIL cookie. They are going to be great in providing healing, providing buffs, as well as for certain situations, you know, you have Apathy for Mystic Flower, you have Revives and Rally Buff from Pure Vanilla. You also do have the insane amount of healing and knockbacks and buffs coming out from DoIL. And then we also do have some area damage dealers as well as boss killers like Wind Archer, Creme Brulee. We have Rebel Cookie, who is going to deal a ton of debuffs and also be able to tank for you with the decoys. We have Marshmallow Bunny, who is going to be an insane support with Cream Fair as well as Star Coral. And then the combo of Black Lemonade and Twizzy Gummy is just always going to be good. So this is going to be the tier list for September 2025. Again, if you guys have anything, you guys can always let me know down in the comments below, but we're going to try to simplify it so that it's just a little bit easier for the people to get a grasp of, rather than dividing them into like 7 different tiers. If we have to go back, we can. It's just I wanted to try something a little bit different. Again, let me know in the comments if you guys have anything. So let's go into the game real quick, and then let me talk about like standard type of team and topping setting and stuff like that you guys want to use. Alright, so we are inside of the game, and let's talk about some of the treasures first. So obviously in the treasures, you definitely want to be using one or the other of the Jelly Watch. And the one to choose is if you haven't maxed out or not. That 5% attack is not going to make a insane difference, especially if it's not maxed out for you guys. So I would say if it is maxed out, use the epic. Obviously, if it's not, just use the common. It is going to be good enough. You want that cooldown mainly to spam those skills as soon as possible, because that will make a difference. And the next one is going to be the scrolls. So I would say sometimes if you guys need that extra survivability, having the rare scroll is not bad at all. If you just have good enough, you know, damage resist and stats on your cookies and you want to go for more damage, then the regular scroll is going to be the standard. Next one is going to be obviously the whistle. The whistle did get some changes and some buffs so that all of the cookies are going to get crit percentage as well as attack buff now, and also on top of that, 2 of the highest attacking cookies are going to get the damage resist as well, and also some healing if they do die. So this is going to be more of a standard type of 3 treasures that you want to use. Now there are situational ones like the feather. Alright, where you guys want to have a little bit of revive, then you can use the feather. If you need some debuff cleansing, alright, some debuff removal, you want some extra healing, defense, as well as debuff resist, then Monocle is not a bad option as well. You also do have the Royal Necklace, which is going to give you guys some HP shield and damage resist for your cookies. Alright, so that is also an option for you guys if you guys would like to go with that route. Another one is going to be the robe. Okay, robe is more of a very situational thing where if you guys need that attack speed to deal a little bit more damage quickly, alright, then you guys can use the robe as well. Alright, so that is pretty much the treasures that you want to be using as of right now. For most of the PvE content. Now, going over the team, the main 3 cookies that you want in most of the situation is going to be a healer, is going to be a tank, and is going to be a damage dealer. And then the rest of the 2 slots that you guys have remaining, you guys can put in a support who is going to either heal / buff up the cookies, or another damage dealer, or a sub tank and DPS. I'm saying it a lot faster because this is going to take a long time if we go over it like specifically, but a combo would be something like pure vanilla with eternal sugar and then holly berry, and I'll add in someone like either a burning spice, or I can either add in a stormbringer, or I can just add in someone like you know, a rebel in here too, for those of you guys who might not have the other cookies. And then I'll add in someone like, for another like support type, we can put in someone like marshmallow bunny, cream ferret, snapdragon, or even someone like Doyle and things like that. These are going to be some of the teams that you guys are able to use. All right, quickly going over the toppings and, you know, builds that you guys can use. For tanks, most of the cases it's going to be damage resist, all right, especially if you guys don't have good biscuits. All right, damage resist or HP is also another option, but most of the cases for PvE it is going to be damage resist, focusing on an extra cooldown if possible. Damage dealers or secondary tank slash DPS is going to use something like Swift Chocolate or Raspberry, depending on what kind of cookie they are. That just really depends on what the build is required by that particular cookie. Damage dealer, most of the cases is going to be that Raspberry, all right? If not, Swift Chocolate to spam the skill, but most of the cases it's going to be that damage for the cookie, focusing on damage resist extra so that you are able to survive, and some extra cooldown if necessary for you to spam the skill a little bit faster. All right, most of the cases, you know, elemental damage is going to be pretty good for the PvE section, or just going with cooldown is also an option. Damage resist bypass is not very necessary for the particular PvE content. Next one is going to be our healer. Healer depends, but most of the cases is going to be full Swift Chocolate. If not, there are certain cookies where you might want to use damage resist or some HPs depending on their skill, so keep that in mind. And then focusing on the damage resist and cooldown. Last one is going to be your extra support or buffers. Again, you can go with full Swift Chocolate in most of the cases to spam the skill, or if certain cases you have enough biscuits to, you know, make them good with the cooldown and things like that, you can go with other toppings like attack, crit. Healings do base off of attack, so that is going to be something that you guys want to keep in mind. All right, so that is pretty much like a quick rundown of how you guys want to be focusing on the PvE section, treasures, and things like that, and also a condensed version of the PvE tier list that we have revamped. So let me know down in the comments below what you guys think, and yeah, we'll continue on with the PvP tier list soon as well, once I do get more teams figured out. The meta is kind of diversifying once more with the addition of another healer like Doyle. So once that does settle down a little bit, I'll make guides and tier lists on that as well. But thanks for watching, and check out the other reviews that I've done with the new cookies.